Hey guys, I'm Angie Designs and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to get right into it. We are working on a brand new cosplay and that is my Saria cosplay. You might have seen my little planning video from a few weeks ago and maybe my Ocarina video where I worked on the Ocarina accessory for it, but now it's time to actually get down to the nitty-gritty and work on the costume. If you have not seen the other videos, be sure to check out my description where I have them all linked and enjoy this video. I'm going to be going through a whole bunch of sewing in this one, and if you're interested in accessories and the other pieces, there'll be a video coming out next week as well. Without further ado, let's actually get into the sewing and construction of the sewn parts of this costume. So the first thing I did for Saria was I created the undershirt, so the long sleeve turtleneck that she wears underneath her little jumper. I need to do that first, that when I did fittings for the mock-up and the final piece of the jumper, make sure it would fit on top of this and look okay. So I didn't show the process for this because it didn't take me very long to do, but essentially I just copied and pasted the pattern of this turtleneck I already have that fits me a little tight. It's a little bit small, a little short, and the sleeves aren't quite long enough, neither is the neck. But I know that the basic body fits, so I just took what was wrong with it, such as the length of the sleeves and the neck, and just kind of cut them a little bigger. It actually fits me quite nice, very comfortable, and I ended up not making it into a leotard because I realized that it stuck pretty well without that, because this ribbing is really, really good and really, really comfortable. It does not rise up as I'm wearing it. So with that done, I can now work on the jumper that goes over top. So now that my patterns are done, I've gone and made a mock-up out of some extra green cotton I've had lying around. And as you can probably already tell, I've already started to pin out some areas that need a little bit of altering. Probably noticing the shorts. I made them much too long, and the pattern drafting methods kind of give you a lot of hip curve that I don't have. So I'm going to have to alter the patterns and pin them all downwards, as well as shortening the shorts, as this length is a little too long for Saria's shorts. I wanted to make sure I didn't alter them to be too short though, because the character is still a child, so as long as I can bend over without my butt sticking out, it's pretty good. So no shorter than this, I don't think. I've padded out the shape here, and the front rise, which is the front of the pants here, was a little long as well, so I pinned it up as well right here. I've also realized that my neckline turned out a little on the square side, so I'm going to have to build it back up before I cut out the good fabric. But all in all, the pattern actually worked out quite well and there's no major alterations needed. Bodice fits quite well. I'm pretty happy with that. It's just a little bit of alterations to the shorts and the neckline that's going to be needed. And also, just for fun, I've brought a belt with me to kind of test out how it looks belted, as Saria does wear a belt, as mentioned before. So yeah, not too bad, not too shabby. It definitely looks a lot better with the belt, and I'm actually quite happy with how this is looking. Pretty excited to go and alter those patterns now, and then keep working on this costume. And after some alterations, cutting, building up necklines, altering waistlines, etc., the patterns are now fixed up and I can now work on the actual jumpsuit instead of the mock-up stages, now that I know what was wrong with it and the patterns are altered to work. So I guess the next thing to do is to start cutting all of this out in the real fabric, so I shall go do that next. So it is now the next day and I've got them bodice to this point on either side. And now I'm gonna put a bias facing onto the armholes in order to finish it off. And you might be wondering why I'm doing this style of lining, and that is mostly because I would like to make this garment with as little top stitching as possible and such to make it look a little bit more cartoony, since the character, of course, has no stitching visible on her garment. Now, of course, it's gonna be impossible with the zipper because I don't have an invisible zipper of this color, but for this, it'll work quite nicely, and this acts as a nice, kind of almost like an interlining at the same time because it has body and the actual fabric does not. So this makes it actually a more sturdy garment, but also it acts as something for when I do the hand stitching to place things like the facing and all of this. You don't see it on the other side because it's so thin and flimsy, you would have seen all of it. So this acts as basically something for it to the hand stitching to attach to. So I am now going to work on the bias tape for the armhole, and it's a little confusing looking here, but I've gone and measured out the amount I need, and now I'm gonna miter the piece so it's a perfect loop, and then I'm gonna stitch it on by machine and then press it in to act as a bias facing. So I'm gonna go do that right now. So off camera, I've gone and finished up all the bias binding here, which I ended up undoing and redoing because I found it was too big and I couldn't get the round shape enough, but I got it in there pretty well. So the bias facing is in. So on the outside, you can't even tell there's really anything there, and then the inside is nicely finished. And I went and finished up the shorts, which basically was the same exact process as the top, the side seams, as it has the same felled seam. But I also did the front rise and a little bit of the back rise since I have to leave some of it open for the zipper. But instead of doing this with the felled method, I instead sewed this part to the front good side by machine and then went in and hand stitched the lining closed. So that's what all of this is here. This was all done with a ladder stitch. So now the shorts are in a position where I can attach it to the bodice. I'm only going to attach it on the self side, only to the side, so I can later take this, tuck it over and under to hide the seam allowance of the two being combined. So I'm going to go do that right now, and then I can start to put this whole thing together, and that's going to start to look like a finished piece soon. Alright, so off camera, I have finished everything on the jumpsuit for Saria. So this is the finished jumpsuit and the long sleeve. For now, I just have this belt as a placeholder just to kind of get a visual idea of how the whole thing looks. Here it is. I'm really glad that there is no visible stitching on the outside. It kind of gives it a really cartoony look, which was the look I was going for. I'm overall pretty happy with the fit. I think I could have done a few things a little differently for the fit, but I'm pleased with it for the most part. I think I got the right length of the shorts. It's not too short. It's appropriate for the character's age, because of course, she's a kid. And yeah, I think I'm in a really good place on this project already. I'm really liking how it looks. It looks pretty good, I think. So that is the sewn parts of this costume. It is the jumper and the turtleneck sweater. If you're interested in seeing this costume in its completed form, be sure to come back next week where I will be showing you how I completed the costume, including the wig, boots, and all the other accessories. I've really enjoyed doing this project, so if you've enjoyed it, be sure to like, subscribe, and all that good stuff, and come back next week to see the rest. See you guys later!